It is Monday morning's OTB AM. You can watch us on all of Off the Ball social channels. You can listen in on the OTB app every single morning. It's Nathan and Shane with you this morning. OTB AM is with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now. Alan Quinlan was in earlier than I've ever seen him in before. He didn't sleep all night with the excitement, and it wasn't R.G. Snyman's comeback that was keeping him going over the weekend. He brought in a little can of 7-Up there, I noticed, Quinny.
Oh, this
is an unbiased sports radio show of a Monday morning.
Not so subtle, Quinny.
I turn it this way, so everyone can see.
You enjoyed that, did you?
It was a nice day, wasn't it? Yesterday, anything happened in particular?
Look at the smug. Look at the smug head.
Shane there. Shane's blanked it out already.
So much abuse in the last few months of my United mates and slagging that. I didn't send out any messages.
So you just that's winding them up even more than
staying quiet. Yeah,
that's even better.
It's just normal.
Any news? Yes, I did text one just asking any news, anything to report. Bit of a freakish day, wasn't it?
Nothing back. Freakish-ish.
Freakish-ish. Yeah. But look, the other side of that is,
where's it been?
There's been a few bad ones this year. If you're a Liverpool supporter, that was kind of going from the bottom of the barrel right to the top, really, with the elation that you would have got from that. We'll probably be back to our usual selves next Saturday and maybe a draw against Bournemouth.
But you've had some tough days coming in here with bad Munster losses and bad Liverpool losses.
The first half of the second half of 2022 was a disaster. August, September, October. Things changed for Munster a little bit in November, but it was so up and down for Liverpool, wasn't it? But listen, I don't lose any sleep over it, I can assure you. But it was still nice that the 3 points were the important part of it.
This. Have you ever heard more professional sportsman talk? It's all about the 3 points.
1-0 win, you'd have taken it, yeah.
It's all about the 3 points.
I'd have taken a 1-1 draw before the game yesterday.
So you'll definitely take
because United have been very good, to be fair. They've been very good, but anyway, it's a bit of a reality check for them, isn't it?
Has that ever in your rugby career? It wouldn't have happened much.
What was the biggest beating you ever took?
Yeah, how do you respond to that?
Somebody asked me that outside there, and I remember going to Cardiff. I think it was 2004 after Wasps knocked us out of the European Cup. I was coming back from my shoulder injury, the one at the World Cup previously in previous October. So I'd been out for a long period of time, and obviously Wasps won the game. It was that memorable game in Lansdowne Road. I think we played. Then we had a league game to play against Cardiff maybe 2 weeks later.
Not even.
A week later, was it?
5 days later.
5 days later.
So you must have played
the
semi-final on the Sunday and then had to play Cardiff on the Friday.
Correct.
You lost by 60 points to 14.
I remember that game well, just running back under the post. It was my first game back from the injury, and you don't forget those ones.
Roy Keane said yesterday, he's like, if that happened to me, I'd go in hiding for months.
Yeah, there was a huge number of changes in our team and a lot of younger players, and then Cardiff had a very strong side, and they were high-fiving, and we were running under the post every 2 minutes in the second half of that game. We were destroyed, and I remember it well. There's no other kind of game that I can remember that we were beaten so convincingly score-wise. In the earlier days, a few.
Second string Munster crashed to their 7th defeat in 8 Celtic League games.
Yeah, it was
9 tries.
Up and down. But that one sticks out.
Munster coach Alan Gaffney made 9 changes to the side, who cruelly lost, of course, that European Cup semi-final to Wasps last weekend. It was a few too many, though. One new name that leapt out was that of back rower Alan Quinlan, returning for his first game since injuring his shoulder, while scoring Ireland's only try against Argentina in the World Cup. Yeah. Of the new look Munster side, only inside centre Rob Henderson really impressed. Well done, you got to mention anyways.
We got walloped, against a strong Cardiff side.
Do you have team meetings then in the week following? How do you respond to that?
It was a terrible going out in the European Cup and to the Wasps has an effect, and I don't know, where we weren't in contention for the league either, so that was it. We were just seeing out the last couple of fixtures, and I think, look, to be fair, we might have come back and played 2 or 3 more and finished the season strongly, but that one sticks out. That's sport, isn't it? The ups and downs of it. Nobody would have predicted that yesterday, and sometimes sport throws up those crazy results. Maybe it was the good Lord above was just trying to give us poor Liverpool fans a little bit of a lift after all the setbacks during the season and the slagging we're getting. So
You're on commentary for Munster Scarlets, which was exciting in its own way. Munster 49, Scarlets 42. Which must be up there with the highest scoring Munster games of all time.
Yeah, it was crazy. Given Munster were 35-7 up at half time, played really well in the first half, and then complete role reversal. I think Scarlets just probably a mixture of them waking up and Munster being a little bit porous in defence, and crazy scoreline, at 47-42. You think Scarlets could snatch a draw here, and Munster were kind of hanging on a bit near the end, but again, they can take so much out of the attack, but I think probably a learning curve for them would be being able to control and deal with this and being ruthless and learning that, and sometimes you need to learn that in sport, about that ruthless edge. And there was always going to be a reaction from the team. You're walloping in the first half. Scarlets are, even though they had a dreadful start to the season, they won their last 4 games, and on paper some very good players in that team. So I think what Welsh rugby is going through as well, I feel sad watching them at the moment. Cardiff against Ulster on Saturday night, and you're just thinking the Ospreys were beaten by Benetton. Connacht beat the Dragons. Obviously it's good for Irish Connacht, that game, but 4 losses for the 4 regions at the weekend, given everything that's gone off the field. It's shocking. The story about Willis Halaholo, he got injured last week for Cardiff. Did his Achilles. He's out for the rest of the season now. He's out of contract. The offer he's got is tiny. He took to Twitter at the weekend, if anyone wants to see it, basically saying, I won't be able to pay my, feed my family at the end of this, because we've got mortgage or rent or whatever he's got to pay. And I think he would have been probably one of those players who's on 150, 200 grand as an international player in a club like Cardiff, who's been offered 30,000 now. It's a massive drop. But the problem he has, whatever about the contract offer, no club will take him now. He's in injury, so it's tough going. And so I was, in some parts of me on Friday night, I was glad that the Scarlets came back and made a game of it. But look, the big story is it's Munster's 10th win in 13 games since the South African game in November. And we just mentioned the start of the season, how tricky it was. But
R.G. Snyman back on Friday night.
Yeah, that's a big one. The stats say he made 5 tackles and 1 carry. Again, memories for me are coming back in 2006 from my knee injury. And anybody,
you're not looking to make an impact in the game on the first night back. You're just
you're not.
Test the legs.
It must be crazy what's going on in his head, because it was the second injury. He had a setback. Then he's been out 18 months with the second cruciate. He should be back probably a little bit way sooner than that, but he had another setback in his knee as well. So 2 cruciate injuries and some other problem that was there on his comeback. So you can imagine what the player is thinking and what kind of nervousness he's going through to get back out onto the field. But it was a nice moment, because
he is.
If you don't like Munster, it's you like to see a player come back and get an opportunity to, because from where he was beforehand,
Well, that's what I was going to say, because when we look at Munster, there seems to be a feeling that they, even if they get this together, there's still a ceiling because of the quality of players they have. He's actually somebody who, if he could somehow get back to his very best, can see him smash any ceiling that's there.
Yeah, he will obviously add to any team that he would go in, and they've. The turnaround from them has been very encouraging, but they're still a little bit short physically in certain areas and depth-wise. There's lots of positive young players that have come through. But having him back, he and any team, Nathan, at international level, if he's fit and well, and just you could see the way he was able to play for South Africa, and the performances he was putting in, and the way he kind of announced himself to the world. The depth they had in that second row position at that World Cup in 2019, South Africa, and both himself and Damien Dialende signing for Munster a number of years ago, was obviously they were 2 marquee signings. Dialende is gone. This fella got offered a new contract, and is it an hour of rugby in 2.5, 3 years? So it's tough for him, you know, and take away any kind of sort of allegiances. I think everyone would want to see a sports person get back and get an opportunity to play for Munster and play rugby again.
It can give you a serious boost to the team when a player like that returns, because it almost feels like a new signing in many ways.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And unfortunately for Munster, Tyke Byrne is out for the rest of the season, so he may get back for a little bit at the end, but you would think
much to expect Snyman to make any sort of impression. Like, is he in a position where he could be starting that game in the Champions Cup in a few weeks?
I don't know. I think he needs a fair bit of rugby under his belt, and you know, they'll probably manage this situation in a way that's best for the player, not best for them, in a sense that they're going to take huge risks for him. I think, you know, Glasgow in a couple of weeks again, they play after the Six Nations, and I doubt you'd be starting him in that game. You'd be trying to get him another 20-30 minutes again, and then they go to the Sharks. So I don't see it. I think the biggest problem for anyone who's had an operation and out for a long-term injury is usually the injury itself is okay, but it's the rest of the body and the conditioning that it takes time to get back. When I came back in 2006, there's no way I would have, when I came on for the final in the Heineken Cup final in Cardiff, you know, I came on for 4 minutes. If I had to come on in that game after 2 minutes, would I have been able to play 78 minutes at the pace required? No chance. The only reason I was on the bench is because Mick O'Driscoll was kind of covering had back row cover as first kind of player off the bench. So even that summer I went to New Zealand, had a really good pre-season, and I only started to feel myself probably the following September. So it does take a few months.
A bit of an impact.
Yeah, and look, he's someone in the position he's in that he's very skillful, but it takes a little bit of time to get the conditioning right, and look, hopefully he can get a run now and get a bit of luck for himself.
We'll talk to you a lot more later in the week about the game against Scotland, but by the time you're in again on Friday, the team will be probably been named by then, or maybe it's Friday afternoon actually with the game on Sunday. It looks as though Ireland are going to be in a good place injury wise, that Henshaw, Furlong, Gibson Park, Sexton will all be fit. Maybe Ringrose will be back. Has anyone done enough when we're looking at team selection to keep them out of the team?
No, you got to put them all back in, to be honest. I think Stuart McCluskey had performed very well in the first two games. Obviously what happened in Rome, that combination of Stuart McCluskey and Bundy Aki didn't really work, because Bundy is not an outside centre. He probably that whole defensive continuity struggled a little bit. He's a world-class inside centre when he's on song. If Gary Ringrose doesn't play and isn't available, I think Robbie Henshaw would go straight to 13. He can play there. Very competent player in that position, but Ringrose is at a different level, and he's very important to Ireland's attack as well. And there's a lot of talk about the defence, but Ringrose, his overall game has been outstanding. I don't know if anyone keeps him out. Do you put Jamison Gibson Park straight back into the team? He's been that good for Ireland when he's played for Ireland that you probably do, or do you try and... It just depends. Scotland's going to be pretty physical, I think, and abrasive, and to have the opportunity for Andy Farrell to call on incredible experience and quality, and you've so much power, and the only thing is Robbie Henshaw's undercooked for game time. Gibson Park is, Furlong is. Will they be sharp enough, and can they go out and kind of play
this isn't
the tempo
an easing them back in sort of game.
Yeah, it's probably a game then that Scotland are going to, they play with a fair bit of pace and tempo to their game, but these are top class, world class players, and I think for the running, which is these block of 2 games, I think it's a welcome return for Andy Farrell, and for the luxury of being able to call on these players is very good for him. And I think for the first number of games, obviously Wales and France, with the injuries, the changes, I think he's learned a lot about his squad depth as well, which is really important for him.
All right, Quinny, great stuff.
Cheers,
we'll have plenty more build-up to Scotland against Ireland later in the week. Are you bringing that can of 7-Up with you? Just walking around with it all day, walking down the street.
It'll taste good.
It'll backfire because, as I said, Bournemouth on Saturday, they'll probably do it.
Right, well, you enjoy it for the next 5 days.